श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So am I audible now? Yeah. Somebody said yesterday the volume through this microphone was slightly less than the when I was not using the microphone. So I'm checking to see how that is. Okay. So Shiva says a little low. So now I have increased the input level. So let me know if it's little better, improved, huh? Okay, good. Okay. So yeah, Vijay Sundaram ji. We'll chant from 45 onwards. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Vijay Sundaram.
Yeah, I hear you, sir.
Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha.
Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha.
Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna.
Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna.
Nirdvandvo Nityasattvasthaha.
Nitvandvo Nityasatvastaha.
Niryogakshema Atmavan.
Niryogashema Atmavan.
Yavan Artha Udapane.
यावानर्थ उदपाने
सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके
सर्वस् सर्व संप्लुतोदके
सर्वतः
सर्वतः
सम्प्लुतोदके
संप्लुतोदके
तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु
तावान् सर्वेषु देवेषु
not deveshu vedeshu
वेदेषु तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु
ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
vedeshu means in the Vedas.
Okay.
Deveshu means in the Devas. So two
Oh.
different meanings. Okay. So karmanyevadhikaraste
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते
ma phaleshu kadachana
मा फलेषु कदाचन
ma karma phala heturbhuhu
मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः
ma te sangostva karmani.
मा ते सङ्कोऽस्तव कर्मणि.
Okay, good. So we were looking at this shloka, number 47, Karmanyeva Adhikaraste. So further talking about Karma Yoga here. So we were talking, so Karma here, the word appears 3 times, and all times it means action only. Karma is action. So Krishna is talking about this human ability to perform actions. And our whole life is driven by actions. We saw last time that this action is desire based. There is no action we do that is not backed up by a desire. Not backed up by a desire. Even when I'm lifting my hand like this, the hand doesn't come automatically up. And if it were to come automatically up, then the hand will be flying all over the place. That also doesn't happen. So it's very obvious. It is even for small things, there is always a desire. Even though when you drive a car or a vehicle, it doesn't look like you are consciously, you're deciding, I must press the brakes now, I must accelerate now. There does not seem to be a deliberate, desire. But it's all backed up by the desire to drive properly. And so, because you're wired over so many years of driving, and all these things happen apparently automatically. But it's all based on desires only. And so our life without desires, therefore we can't really lead a life. That is why Icha Shakti. Shakti, she is Devi. Devi is manifest in us. You want to know how Devi is manifest? Just think about your desires. Just write down all the desires you have. And the list keeps on going. And so she is there very much. So we saw karma means it is based on desires. And so there are problems because there is we can easily have a desire. But to fulfill the desire, some desires to fulfill them, it doesn't seem to be easy. So this is where we suffer a little bit. And the outcome does not seem to be in our hands. So we are analyzing that idea here. And so we are saying that the jiva, this human being, is limited in many ways. And we are appreciating the limitations of that person. And so any which way we look at ourselves, we seem to be limited. And we saw, in the process, we saw, if Jiva is limited, what about Ishvara? Like that we were talking about last time. And we took the example of a dream and said, just like I am able to create beautiful worlds, scary worlds, pleasant experiences and unpleasant experiences in my dream world, just by thinking like that, just by making a sankalpa, a world appears. Just by another thought, animals appear. Just by another thought, I appear in that world. And my past appears. My employer, my co-workers, my classmates, all these things appear. And all kinds of things happen. So that there is a sankalpa there. And no action is done. Without any action, a world is created. This is how we visualize. Our idea of Ishvara is like that. Very important. When we say our idea, I mean the Vedic idea of Ishvara. Vedic idea. So, Satya Sankalpa. So, just by making a Sankalpa, the world happens. This is an important difference between Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, and other theologies. That's why they are called theologies. We cannot bracket our Sanatana Dharma into a theology. We will see more why this is, etc. So, our understanding of Ishvara will improve, keep improving. So here, whereas what about the Jiva? The Jiva not only is the capability of the Jiva limited, and also the results also unpredictable. This this is our common experience. And so, but Krishna does say, Karmani eva adhikaraha te. You have authority over actions. You are the author of the actions that you perform. That much Krishna is granting us. Even there, sometimes we have a problem. We can have a problem, because the systems have to work. The biological system has to work. Neurological system has to work properly. And I may want to do, but the body doesn't get up. What do you do? And then they say, I become bedridden. All these things happen. Why bedridden? The person doesn't want to be ridden on the bed. Nobody wants to be bedridden. Yet we become bedridden. See, this shows our vulnerability. But choice is definitely there. Even though we are vulnerable like that, choice is very much there. And we recognize that our choice, our ability to do things, accomplish things is limited. And otherwise, why would we have invited Corona into this world? We would not have done that. So that shows that we have limitations, and so we always want to be at the right place at the right time. This right place at the right time idea comes from there, because there is luck. There's good luck and bad luck. In English, we use this very often. So there is no translation for luck in Sanskrit. Luck is an English word. In Sanskrit, we have karma. In our dharma, we call it karma. And it is not luck. Because luck, if you see, is random, unexplainable, random stuff. And you are lucky, she is not lucky, etc. we say. And we attribute it to Ishvara. We attribute it to Ishvara. And we attribute it to ourselves also. Karma means ourselves. Because that karma was created by us. Very subtle differences. I'll highlight these things as and when we talk about it. Okay. So the point is, the free will is there. We have to acknowledge we have free will. Even to say that I have free will or not, even to ask the question, shows that there is this idea of choice is there for the human being. And you sit in the car and you have to drive it. You have to choose how to drive, where to drive, when to apply the brakes, when not, when to accelerate. All these things you have to choose. And if you don't do it properly, there is always somebody behind you to remind you also. They will honk. The minute you hear a honk, what happens? I mean, immediately you question yourself, did I do the right thing? What happened? You look around, you look back. And if you think you did everything right, then you look back to this fellow. Who are you to honk at me? Huh? So, and then the thing starts. There's always some funny things going on the road. So, it's very obvious that free will is there. Hey, even the vehicle I'm sitting on, the vehicle didn't come just like that. There was free will. So much free will is there in the manufacturing of that vehicle. So many people have sat through and evolved invention after invention after invention and came up with this vehicle. Very clear. Free will is there, even there. And I'm using that device. But again, these devices fall apart. That is why I have to maintain it. I have insurance for this vehicle because I know they are going to fall apart in time. And so this goes on. Everything that is put together is going to fall apart. And the car will fall apart, the truck will fall apart, brakes will fail. The other day, last year, we had a problem. Somebody, new car, and they went around and Ooty and all these things, and the brakes failed. New car, can you imagine this? Can you imagine what this thing it is? And this is all this curvy roads, Nilgiri mountains and all that. And there comes the vegetable big truck and then hits the car. And there is just a massive fortunately no loss of life, but lifelong suffering. So brakes failed. Anything that is put together can unput itself also. This is possible. And it applies to our body also. Body also put together. We don't realize it until the first signs of chronic pain. Pain also we can deal with, comes and goes. You put a tablet and headache and it all goes on. But chronic pain, day after day after day. Then somebody says, oh, then only dawns on you. Oh, this is getting to be a problem. Getting to be a problem. Problem can be solved, but getting to be a big problem. So body also falls apart. This is our experience. And so free will exists very much. And it's very, very clear when we have to acknowledge this. Very important. Free will exists. Because it's fashionable to say free will doesn't exist. Ishwara is controlling everything. And Ishwara is controlling everything, and then you let go and stop doing things. This is also a problem. So we don't want to get into that trap. And we will appreciate Ishwara more and more. And so, despite free will, this human being is not omniscient, therefore not capable of doing all things and not capable of calling all the shots. All outcomes are not in my hands. This much is very clear. So limitation has to be acknowledged. When will I become helpless? I am helpless if I do not acknowledge limitation. Think about it. I am helpless if I do not acknowledge the limitation. It's a very important statement. Important thing to know. The more I acknowledge my limitation, the less helpless I will be. Think about it. Something to think about. Helplessness is felt only when I do not accept realities. Only when I am in denial of realities, including my own capacities. Therefore, we need to keep that in mind. And therefore, this accepting limitation is a very important part of our life. And so this in our language also, it is there. I've told you at least once that my elders used to say that. And when I used to ask for something, they would say, "Piyatti kadandal papo." So tomorrow, let's do this. And they would say, if we are alive tomorrow, then we will see. Think about it. This is the way in the normal course of talking, they talk like this. And so the child gets sensitized. The child doesn't go away with the idea that I am ruling this world. No, child is sensitized. So this idea is there. Very important. Which means that the uncertainty. The child is comfortable with uncertainty. Look at that. You have to come to terms with these things. Just basic, simple living. This is tricks for simple living. I think I should add this topic. Coming to terms with uncertainty as a topic for this youth. Coming to terms with uncertainty. Or accepting uncertainty. Coming to terms. Yeah. So, otherwise, if I don't come to terms with this uncertainty, I become a yo-yo. Yo-yo. This word also I learned there in America. Yo-yo. So I think you all know in India we used to have those days, and there used to be a string and a rubber string tied to a ball, thick ball. And those days, thick ball, if you don't have, you just take a balloon, fill it up with water, and tie it up, and then tie a rubber string to it, a rubber band like string, and then you do this. That's called a yo-yo. Of course, today's yo-yos are even more sophisticated. They give any idea to America and they will make it very, very sophisticated. They'll make an industry, $1 billion industry out of it. So they have all these yo-yos where you throw the wheel rotates, and there is a what do you call, a rope, a thread, and then the thread just comes out and then goes in, comes out and goes. So my response is like a yo-yo. Something great happens, something good happens, I take it as great and I'm elated. And something happens that I don't like, I become depressed. And there is no samatvam at all. There is no samatvam at all if I don't accept the reality, accept my own limitations. So samatvam, look at that. We talked about samatvam earlier. We picked that word samatvam from the 48th verse. And at my attitude towards results is that of samatvam. And if I do not have samatvam at all, then I become a yo-yo. And why am I a yo-yo? Because I think I am the one who is responsible for the results of all actions. Or rather, I think I am the author of the results of action. Author of action, okay. Krishna says, Karmani eva adhikara. Thank you, Mr. Krishna. Thank you very much. And I am the author of the results of, author of the action. But ma phaleshu kadachana. He has to remind us that. No, I am not. You're not the result. You don't create the results. So therefore, if you look at these symptoms we have, anxiety, frustration, depression. Swamiji says depression is a result of an onerous responsibility I've taken. I've taken on the onerous responsibility. What is the responsibility? I decide all outcomes. And all outcomes do not come in keeping to my desires. Therefore, depression and constant denial. This is not working, that is not working. And so all these psychological problems. That is why when we study Bhagavad Gita, it's a big blessing. We become more practical. Our vision changes, and therefore our life changes according to that vision. Because it is slowly getting to the root cause. And so it's a big blessing for all of us. And so a responsibility that I take on, which doesn't really belong to me. I am responsible for my actions, of course. And what I do to other people, I am responsible, of course. But to say that everything, I create everything, is just illegitimate. And so I account for uncertainty. And that's where Ishwara will step in. So even a Swami, even a sannyasi, a jnani also doesn't call shots. That person accepts the limitations. That person knows what is what, of course, but even that person cannot call all shots. And our Puranas are full of stories of devatas constantly fighting with each other. because they don't call their shots. Even Indra is helpless, and they are all vying for this and that, and they seem to be helpless. They have to run from pillar to post. Finally, they end up. They end up to either Vishnu or Shiva, and Shiva has to sometimes consult Parvati also. What is this? This guy is. I thought I gave some buddhi to him. What happened? He's not using. Parvati has to remind Shiva. I told you so many times. You don't worry about all these things. This is how things are. You don't worry why this, why that. You don't ask these questions. Buddhi is given and he will use it sometimes. He will not use it sometimes. You have to accept reality, Shiva. You're not accepting realities. Parvati has to remind him periodically. So devas have the same issues, and no human being in this world, despite all the power they might have. And big man called me the other day and said the corona is creating all kinds of problems in his company, and because of all these labor shortages, and labor comes and then they have corona and he has to deal with all these things. So it's a very tough situation. So one day you might be the president of United States, but the next day even he or she has to bow down to majority, bow down to popular sentiment. And so despite all the efforts they make to manipulate sentiment, and sooner or later they succumb to all these things, correct? So therefore we acknowledge limitation. We do namaskar, acknowledge limitation. We are welcome to improve things. We fix things so that our life is made comfortable. All that we do, but it's only going from one limitation to a slightly improved limitation, slightly better, incrementally better. They use the word increment. That's how our entire life is. So in this journey, if I think I produce all these results, I am in control of all outcomes, then I am bound to have a sense of failure. I'm bound to have frustration, increased anxiety, and leading to depression. That is a certainty. That definitely is a certainty. And so here, therefore, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Ma phaleshu kadachana, and then he continues that. He repeats that in the next line. Ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. He says that. Bhuhu, abhuhu. Okay, bhuhu, and don't become the cause of the results of your karma, your actions. So here karma phala is your own actions. Ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. Do not consider yourself to be the hetu. Hetu means what? Cause. The cause of the results. What a powerful statement it is. How is it not possible to think that you did not create this? You did not. I grew this plant. Somebody comes home, oh, 2 tulsi plants growing. And Rukmini ji gave us this plant one day. She gave a flower pot. And so we put some tulsi in it. And I grew the tulsi. I watered it. Every morning and every evening I water it. And so I'm growing the tulsi plant. This is the idea we get. How easy it is for us to say a statement like that and take it seriously. We take it seriously. This is why Krishna has to say these things again and again. And we have to study the Shastram so much. But then there are people who seem to be very, very knowledgeable, very practical, very mature. You study the story of this Apple founder, Steve Jobs. It seems he was working in a company called Atari. And he tried to sell his idea of a computer, personal computer. They didn't want his funny ideas. They thought he's a funny guy. And then he had a friend called Steve Wozniak. or something like that. Wozniak, I think. And Steve Wozniak was working with Hewlett Packard. And so he tried to, Steve Wozniak tried to sell that same idea to Hewlett Packard. And Hewlett said, thank you, but no thanks. And so it seems they tried to sell it for year after year. 5 years, it seems, they tried to sell it. No luck. And finally, they started a company on their own. This is how good companies start, Good companies start from failure. Look at that. Look at this thing. From failure, you become wiser. Look at that. I need to fail in order to become wiser. Can we even think like this? Can we even make our mind think like this? I have to fail in order to become wiser. I can choose to learn from my past experiences and become wiser. And so these two started Apple. And then later on, this founder of Hewlett Packard, Bill Hewlett was asked, what do you think of this failed opportunity? Means Hewlett Packard, there would not have been a company called Apple. Now you have a big competitor. What do you think of that? And Bill Hewlett, look at his response. He says, you win some, you lose some. This is what he says. Look at it. Look at these people, what their attitude, what their thinking is. Why I brought this up? It looks like they are already aware of these things. Hey, we got to let go. Only then only then you can do things properly in life. I think they have this mindset. Thomas Alva Edison invented this light bulb. And he was asked, what do you think of the 1,000 times you failed? You're a miserable failure. Thomas, what do you think of that? He says, I know 1,000 ways how not to make a bulb. This was his response. Can you believe the way these people think? I mean, this is just looking at something, we get disappointed, we get discouraged. Aramba Shuraha. So when we want to start something, we're all enthusiastic. Come on, let's go. And then next day, what happened? No, it was raining, we start giving some excuses, And so if you look at these scientists, my goodness, I have a feeling that they already have this attitude built into them. Otherwise, how could this Fleming have invented penicillin? It's not possible, because penicillin, what is his name? Fleming, Alexander Fleming, was that his name? Yeah. So Alexander Fleming, yeah. So he was trying to grow some bacteria in his petri dish, and tried to grow. When you grow bacteria in a dish, you can after some time you can see the spots like fungus. You can see like that. You can see small spots. You can identify. I know it because I worked in a biotechnology lab. My masters, I did a 3-year masters, all growing bacteria after bacteria after bacteria, keeping all nights awake. I used to do all kinds of stuff. So this is what he was doing, Alexander Fleming. And then he was wondering why this bacteria is not growing. Because it's an isolated environment. The bacteria should grow. When you put one bacteria, it should multiply. Not growing. And then after that, he was trying to find out why the bacteria was not growing. In the process, he found there is another bacteria which was killing off this bacteria he was growing. And then he said, why is that bacteria killing my bacteria? Look at his thinking. And then he found it was producing a material, and that material became penicillin. Can you believe this? How penicillin was invented? Not because he wanted to invent penicillin. He was looking at something else, but his mind was open. Mind was open. He was not discouraged. Mera karma hai. Mera karma hai. My bacteria is not growing. That is true. Mera karma hai. But That doesn't mean you should stop. Karma hai, no doubt. But he didn't stop. Look at this. Look at this. This is what I'm saying. These people are wired with this kind of vision, I think, somehow. And so penicillin, it is a serendipitous invention, invented without even really looking for a chemical to kill bacteria. Amazing. So we must look at all our scientists, Vikram Sarabhai and all these people, ISRO, these people who launch space probes and all that, our Ramanujan, Bhaskaracharya, Aryabhatta. We should look more into their lives. And C.V. Raman, Chandrasekhar, all these people, what all they did. And I think we will learn something from their lives also. And so why I said this, we become wiser when we fail. So imagine taking a failure to be a teacher. And this attitude of samatvam will give us that strength. And or if you say, I am not the author of the results of my actions, that will give me samatvam. That vision will give me samatvam. So I'm neither shocked nor am I elated and surprised. And nothing wrong in saying I'm surprised, but it will cease to create all these emotions in me. Okay. Unmanageable emotions, I mean. I'm not saying we should not have emotions and all that. Don't get the wrong message. Now, this is practical. These scientists are all practical people. They know exactly what's what. And if you try something, you're bound to fail. Failure is natural. There is nothing that says you do something and you will be successful. There is no book says that, really speaking. That is why you have so many books about attitude and about strength and how to seven habits of highly successful people. So all these books are bestsellers. Why? Because we are all looking for ways to deal with life. And so these people, these scientists I quoted, they are all pragmatic people, and they are unfazed by failure, by what we would call as failure. They may not even use the word failure. They probably think there is no such thing as failure, which is the right way to think. There's really no such thing as failure. It's an amazing thing. So they are all objective, they are pragmatic. But here, when we talk about karma yoga, you have to go one step more. One step more. Their vision is samatvam. They also have samatvam. But they are not karma yogis. Because our mind asks the question, then who is creating these results? If I am not the author of the results of my actions, then that question, addressing that question and answering it and understanding that answer is what makes one a karma yogi. So we are going to study a little bit about that. And who takes care of the results? This question has to come. So we have to bring in Ishwara. So we are appreciative of the laws that are operating in this universe, in this world. Sunrise, sunset, all these are wonderful laws, repeatedly happening. And no human being is the author of these things. And plants are going, trees are going, the ecosystem is functioning. Oxygen is there, carbon dioxide is there, and there is photosynthesis. And here my body is generating carbon dioxide. The trees' bodies are all generating oxygen. This is just mind-boggling. And my own body, if I look at it, so many laws are functioning. And the science of human body and well-being is only growing. You would think that we are all a progressive society and so much advancement is made, and therefore we know everything about the human body. No, there is no, this science won't end like that. No, it's not that easy. Even though the body is so small, and still the science is so big, keeps on growing. And so, like I said, the example I gave, the lifting the hand. Lifting the hand, so many laws have to work. Physical laws are, of course, working. The body is seated. The earth is not spinning out of control. Otherwise, we would not be seated like this. So many laws are already functioning, taken for granted. The electromagnetic laws are working. The laws in the body are working, outside the body are working. So the physiological order is there. This is what we call physiological order, neurological order. This so many systems that are there in the body, circulatory system and digestive system. If you don't know how many systems are there, all you have to do is go. You don't have to worry that, oh, I studied all these things in school, I forgot. Like that, you don't have to worry. All you have to do is make a visit to the hospital. And visit to the hospital. And you just have to look at all the specialities that are there. And many words you can't even pronounce, you can't say. What? Gastroenterology. Okay, gastroenterology. You have to look up the dictionary though, because if you don't know, you have to ask somebody who is a gastroenterologist. And so that, because gas is there, maybe we can guess that it has to do with the digestive system. And but other places, other things you can't guess. So ophthalmology and all, you can't guess if you're new to this area. And then you have to ask ophthalmologist, then what about optometrist? What is the difference between ophthalmologist and optometrist? Then you slowly figure out, oh, because I see these stores where they call optometry. So these people who make eyeglasses, maybe they are the people who are optometrists. And you can't go to an eye doctor and say you're an optometrist. He's a great optometrist. If you say, that is a big insult. You don't make that mistake, okay? So it is very obvious that there is so much working to make simple lifting of the hand, simple opening the mouth and saying some word that makes sense. How many laws have to operate? If you start thinking about it, it can become mind-boggling. But we have to think about it. In order to appreciate Ishwara, we have to think. This is how our appreciation of Ishwara improves, increases dramatically. Dramatically. Just sitting and wanting to say a few words, so much is operating. This is why we are always appreciative of Ishvara. Our culture is born of the appreciation of Ishvara. Sanatana Dharma. That Dharma, Dharati iti Dharma. That which sustains is Dharma. That Ishvara is recognized. Recognized, understood. Not simply recognized. All cultures recognize Ishvara. But not somebody who's sitting somewhere and controlling us. Not that kind of Ishvara. This is the Ishvara that is, we are going to see. That Ishvara that is not just created this world, but is pervading this world. That's an important step. So before going to that, we are going to say, among all these laws, you also have the law of karma. Put that law also. The law that they do not teach you in college. Okay, those laws also we must add. Because science explains certain things, but it doesn't explain everything. So the remaining thing that it does not explain, that also should be added, because our vision has to be complete, not half-baked. So that appreciation of the laws that are operating in this world is very important. And so we can appreciate this Sarvajna, the one who is all-knowing. Because I am small knowing, there must be all-knowing. In order for all this to work, that all knowledge has to be there. And without which this universe is not possible. All-knowing. And I am not all-knowing, that is very obvious. And there is an Ishvara that is all-knowing. And we use several words, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvajnaha. Like this, we use these words to describe Ishwara. And so, who is authoring these results, these outcomes was the original question. So, we have to invoke this Ishwara. And this Almighty brings in another story. So, I read a novel long ago called The Almighty. And I was stunned when I read this book, because it's one of those Robert Ludlum or something like that. Those days I used to read all this. And the story is like this. This person is a media magnate, and he owns the media. He publishes newspapers and this and that. And then he gets the idea. He's publishing news. Then one day he decides, I'm going to create news. So he engineers an air crash. He engineers an air crash and then he publishes that, because he actually does it and he wants to create the news, it seems. So that story, that shook me a little bit when I was a kid studying, reading all these novels. And so there it looks like he knew he wanted to create an outcome. So, but anyway, that's just a by the way. But here, who is authoring these things? Who is the author of all the things that are happening in this world? And more importantly, my own life. I'm not worried about who created these planets and why Jupiter is so many times bigger than the Earth, and why Jupiter takes 12 years to finish a revolution. Those things I may not worry about so much, but still, even as it comes to my own life, the desire to know is there. So that when you ask the question, then Swamiji says, this is the beginnings of Karma Yoga. Recognition of Ishwara. That's operating, constantly operating. And that Ishwara, those laws produce results. And Ishwara produces those laws. And therefore, Ishwara is the Karma Phaladata. Those days we used to have, this money order. Money order is there even today, by the way. I checked. So 2 weeks ago, there was somebody who was struggling in a village and so wanted to send some money. And he suggested send money order. He has a bank account. But he said, lockdown and all that, and it's so difficult to go to a bank. And so can you send money order? This is what he said. So I actually called the postman. And I had to find out. And so there is a 10% commission they take. 10% commission. Was it 10%? Yeah, I think so. I thought 10% commission. I thought it was a bit too much. Especially if you're sending thousands of rupees, 10% is, I felt was a lot. But he said 10% is the cost these days. And so now imagine this. The money is sent. The postman goes and visits the person. Somebody goes, we don't know who the postman is. This postman that I handed over the money is not going to go. Don't think he's going to go all the way and all that. No, he won't go. It goes into the system, and then the system reminds this other postman who is going to visit that village, and he's going to carry this money with him. And he's going to give the money to the person, intended recipient. Now, the guy receives the money, and what does he do? Does he do namaskar to the postman? Oh, namaste, thank you. You are the one who saved me. And at the time when I'm struggling, you gave me so much money. And so does namaskar to the postman. And no, nobody does that. Why should you not do it? Postman is the one who gave you the money. No. So we understand very clearly, if somebody else gave the money, postman is only delivering. He's a messenger. He or she is just a messenger. Very interesting. I don't know. I don't remember having seen post women. Okay, I personally in my life I have not seen. I don't understand why. Are there post women? There must be post women, I think.
Yes.
There are many, many.
Many, yeah, yeah. Now in the post office, I've seen many women working. That I've seen, but yeah. So this postman. So these days, we are conscious about what we say. Postman, post person. I think we should say post person. That would be a more politically correct statement. But anyway, so the laws are the ones that are delivering the results. Postman delivered the goods, but the laws themselves are operating, are created by Ishwara. And so we have to recognize the Ishwara that created these laws, which then created the results. This is how our understanding of Ishwara goes. And so when I appreciate Ishwara, then I appreciate karma phala data. And then I gain this samatvam. Samatvam, this karma yoga buddhi comes by appreciating karma phala data. Now, one more thing is needed when we talk about Ishvara as Sarva Shaktiman, as karma phala data. And what that is very unique to Sanatana Dharma. So, a couple of things. We've already studied about Satyam and Mithya. Everything in this world is Mithya. You analyze any object in this world, you find that that object does not exist independently. It has to depend on something else on its existence. Like the pot depends on clay for its existence, and clay depends on something else for its existence. Then who is that something else? If you see, then we saw that Satyam, that which is independent of everything else, exists by itself, self-existing consciousness is Satyam. We saw that. In our introductory classes, we saw that. So, when everything is Satyam, so Mithya is depending on Satyam, therefore Satyam is all pervasive. Why? Because I see Mithya everywhere. Wherever you see Mithya, there is Satyam. Because Mithya is sustained by Satyam. So, Sarva Adhishtanam, the word Adhishtanam I am introducing now. Adhishtanam means what? That which sustains everything is the Adhishtanam. The water sustains the wave, therefore water is called Adhishtanam. Adhishtanam. And so everything is Mithya. Mithya is dependent on something else for the existence. And so finally that something else is called Adhishtanam Satyam. Satyam is what sustains. This is how we get to the idea of that all pervasiveness. Consciousness all pervasive. And so therefore here also we analyze this idea, this Ishwara. When we look at Ishwara and talking about creation, our idea of creation is what? The child says, look mom, look what I created. And you look at the drawing and you're saying, wow, you did an excellent job. You're going to become an artist. At this rate, you will become a very famous artist, my dear. And the child says, I created this and very happy about that. And I go to the kitchen, I cook, and then I created so many dishes. In all these examples, so you go to the showroom and there are all these washing machines and so many appliances, microwave ovens and all these things, all created by somebody. Now, in all these examples, the creator is different from the creation. This is our idea of creation. This is our idea. But Shastram says you cannot apply this idea to our Ishvara. Why? So look at our thinking. We are not satisfied with simply somebody sitting there and created this world. Like you created idlis, so many idlis you created, kada 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 coming in the assembly line. And because in a restaurants, people are constantly coming. And you have to prepare idli and vada constantly in our places. Southern India, Dakshin Tamil Nadu. Uttar Tamil Nadu, I'm sure you can make roti. Roti is also coming. People eat roti. Dal roti khate hai na. If you are bored with dal roti, bhatura, chana bhatura. Bhatura has to be made. You must have persons who are adept at it, constantly frying it and removing it out and then filtering it off and then setting it. So constant creation going on. The question we ask is, wait a minute, you are saying Ishwara created this world? Yeah. Out of what he created? Does he need material to create it? Yes, he needs material, because without material, creation is not possible. Where did he go to get the material? Knock on the neighbor's door and say, please give me something. I'm ready to create now. The time has come. Orders have come. I have to create. Is that the idea or what? No. Material has to be from that same Ishvara. So we discuss these things. From etha urnanabihi srijate grinnate cha. Just like the spider creates the web out of itself. Brilliant example. I don't know, our rishis just salute every time I think like this. I have to just fall at their feet. Look at the example they give. And yatha, so just like the spider creates the web out of itself, spins the thread out of itself. There is no other choice, because there is no world left. Ishvara cannot borrow material from somewhere else, and therefore the creation. That's why now we have to give up the word creation. Why? Because creation is an English word referring to a Western concept of God created this world in 6 days. We have to give it up. That's why we cannot use the word creation. That's why the word creation is a red rag for a scientist. Red rag. Red rag means what? The physicist will run miles away from this word creation and all these things, because the fellow has become allergic to this idea of creation, God sitting somewhere and creating this world. He cannot handle it. But the religion is powerful, so he can't say anything also. So only thing he can do is run away. Red rag. They use the word red rag. So that srishti, which comes out of this process, is called srishti. And so now you can see why the Ishvara, when we say all pervasive, Ishvara is all pervasive because the material also comes from Ishvara. And the world is not separate from the material. No product is separate from the material. The pot is not separate from the clay. And clay comes from Ishvara, means pot has to be pervaded by Ishvara. Look at our thinking, the way our rishis thought of. That is how we need to think of Ishvara. So that Ishvara we need to invoke when Krishna talks about karmanya vadikaraste mafaleshu kadachana. So with that discussion, we will complete this understanding of the shloka. So see how important it is why a shloka like this becomes important and how loaded all these words are. So we will finish that discussion in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.